Hey everyone, this is Steve. I'm coming at you today from my home office, and I just want to record a little video to talk about the Codecademy exercises, just to walk you through some of the basics of it and show you how it works, at least how to make it into a website. So I'm going to record most of this with a screenshot, so watch this, what comes next. I mentioned at the beginning of the semester, Codecademy changed the way things work for me, and I've worked through all the exercises now, and so that's partly, that's the main reason why I'm sharing this video with you now. So this is the link to what we're going to be doing that everybody needs to do, which is make a website. And there's 4 parts to it: the site structure, closer look at CSS, boundaries in space, and this part about building with Bootstrap. Each one of these sections has parts that you pay for. We're not going to do that. And then the free part, okay? Site structure is where you have to get started, and you have to finish that before you can get to the other ones. Now, since I have already finished my Codecademy exercises, it's going to look a little bit different for me than it does for you when you get started. But if you are just getting started, you work through this, and then you go into the next one. And then this is the part here in the middle where you do your HTML. This is what it's supposed to look like, and these are the instructions. And you can't really keep going through the exercises until you get to the end where it says run. So I'm trying to see if I can get that to come up on the screen here. Yeah, there we go. So in order to finish these, you have to be able to get to push where it says run, and then you go to next and so forth. Okay. Now, when you get to the end of these exercises, there's for all 4 of them, there's what is described as a review page. But then there's also this page here. So this is the last bit of HTML source that you're going to get for your Codecademy exercises. And this is the way it's going to look. This first one, by the way, looks a little bit different. I'll talk about that in a second. But when I talk about copying and pasting your source code into a text document, this is what I mean. Okay, so the copying and pasting the text thing, it's gotten a little bit more wonky, at least on the Apple side of things. It might be the same on the PC side of things. But the basic premise here is what you need to do is you need to copy the HTML and, as we'll see in a bit, the CSS code. Copy that from Codecademy and paste it into a plain text document and save it as either for the HTML files index.html and for the CSS files main.css. That's their convention for this. You can't just use Microsoft Word to do this, and that's because Microsoft Word actually puts in a whole bunch of different code that you don't typically see. You need to use a plain text editor. Now, in the old days on the Mac, that was just called TextEdit, but there's been some wonky things with the new operating system in terms of how that works for this. So I would suggest either using Google Docs and then saving it and exporting it as a text file, a text-only file, and then changing the name of it. I'll show you how to do that. Or to download a text editing only software, and I've got a couple links that go with this down below. And if you're serious about getting into doing some more coding stuff, that's actually a really useful thing to use. I'm going to show you how to do it with my Google Drive account with Google Docs. Okay, watch. I'm back over to Codecademy. This is what the end of the first exercises should look like. If you work through the instructions, you'll see what I mean. Okay, I'm going to select this text here, and I'm going to copy it, and then I'm back over to my Google Drive. What I've done is I've created a folder in my Google Drive to put these files, but you can put them however you want. I'm going to create a new Google document. I'm going to call this document index.html, and I'm going to paste what I had. Okay, now this is the important part. I'm going to do a save as, or download as rather, download as plain text, and then what that does on my computer is it downloads this file, index.html, and then one text because I had saved another version of this before. Okay, a screenshot of my downloads folder, and this is this file, And the first thing I'm going to actually do is I'm going to change the name of it. And then in the Apple, you kind of go like this and you arrange it. And I'm going to change it so it's just index.html. Okay. Now, it's going to give me a warning about that. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes, I'm sure I want to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this file and I'm going to drag it into this folder right here for the time being. But I'm not going to stop there. I'm also going to make a new folder. And the first folder I'm going to call, oops, I'm going to go back here. The first folder I'm going to rename this folder. I'm going to call this site structure. All one word, lowercase. While I'm at it, I'll make some other folders too. I'm going to call the next one CSS. And I'm going to call the next one boundaries. Oops, not a very good speller. And the next one I'm going to call bootstrap. Okay. This first index one is the only one that's going to be in the site structure folder. I'm going to put that right there. But let me show you something else here while we're working at this. In terms of these exercises, these other exercises all involve two files. Okay, so CSS, it involves, and just go all the way back here to the very beginning about CSS, and then we'll go on to this one. This actually shows you the files. There's the index.html file, which has just the index stuff, or the HTML stuff. And then there's this thing called main.css. You'll learn more about this, but the point is this: you need to have both of these files. Okay, so just to show you how this works here, I'm going to go all the way again. We have this review page. This is when you get through all the way through things. It walks you through a review. This is the last page that you want, that you're going to be making into a real web page for your project. So I'm going to close this. And here, I'm actually going to create a new folder on my Google Drive. And I'm going to call this one CSS. And I'm going to open this folder. And then I'm going to create a new Google document. I'm going to go back over to my Codecademy. I copy the index.html file. Copy that text. I'm going to paste it in here without formatting. I'm eventually again going to call this one index.html. And now I'm going to create a new document back over here. And this time I'm clicking where it says main.css. I'm going to copy all this, the whole thing. Paste it in here without formatting. Call this main.css. Okay. Same sort of thing here. I'm going to download this as plain text. I'm going to download this as plain text. I'm going to go back to my, let's see here. I just downloaded this. These files I just downloaded. I'm going to once again change the name of this one to index.html. Use HTML. Download this one, or change the name of this one to main.css. Use CSS. I'm going to open up this one, and now this was the CSS folder. And I'm going to take both of these files and drag them into that folder. Okay? And you do something similar with all the exercises. You probably noticed there that all the HTML files are named index.html and all the CSS files are named main.css. Index.html is the default name for an HTML file in a folder or a directory. So what you want to do is create folders that have different titles, and then put index.html in there, and then you'll see how it works when I show you on people.emich.edu. Main.css, you want to make sure that that file is with the right index.html. Now, it can get kind of confusing in terms of like which index.html file do I have and which main CSS file do I have and stuff like that. I realize that, but do stick to those naming conventions, because it's just an important thing to learn how to manage as you go along. So you want to do that with each 4 of these exercises. Then the next step, and you save them on, again, convert them into text files, then save them on your computer. The next step is then uploading them up to people.emich.edu. Now, if you've looked at the people.emich, how to set up your account, that part of things remains the same. So if you haven't looked at that video yet, then now is a good time to pause this and to look at that. And I have it linked down below. It's the part that says how to set up your people.emich.edu account. Okay, wait a second. Okay, good. So you did it. All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to use CyberDuck to upload your stuff, your HTML and CSS files up to people.emich.edu, and then you can actually have a real website. I really strongly recommend CyberDuck. There's a link to it down below. It's a cross-platform thing. It's free, and it works very, very well. Some of the other free software that's out there for file transfer protocol doesn't work as well. If you saw that video I said before about how to upload things, this works pretty much the same way, but I want to show you with these files what it's going to look like once you get up on people.emich.edu. Okay, watch. I have my completed 444 exercises right here. Okay, these are all my Codecademy exercises. Site structure, which just has the index.html file, and then the other 3, which each have an index.html and a main.css file. Okay, in one of those, and they're all in individual folders and directories. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up CyberDuck, which again is the software I would really recommend because it just, frankly, just works the best. So I think it's totally worth it to use that. And then I'm not going to worry about this. It's going to give you some weird codes and stuff, and just one of those things. It's already trying to connect me, but basically what I want to do is click where it says SFTP, SSH File Transfer Protocol, people.emich.edu, your username, and then it's sort of supplied my password. It's the same username and password that you would have for email and that kind of thing. Okay, and then hit connect. Yeah, that's fine. And then it's thinking, and it has this. This is some other stuff that I already have in that you don't have in yours, and you don't need to have it in yours. All you need to do is take this folder, especially if it's all done, and like I said, and just drag it into that window. It's going to say, do you sure you want to do that? You can hit say yes, allow. And then it thinks about it, and uploads it, and then you have it. Then what happens is, just bring this over here. This is a web browser, and I'm going to type in people.emich.edu. It's already filled it in for me here. Your username, and then 444. And then what you should get is something that looks like this. And these are the websites. You'll notice this one looks different from the way it looked on Codecademy. That's because of some weird stuff going on with what is or isn't working in terms of CSS and stuff like that. But what you have here is this looks a lot like what you did with Codecademy, and then you have this boundaries thing, which looks a lot like what you did with Codecademy, and then finally the bootstrap part of things. Okay, that's what you need to have to finish this project, is have all of your Codecademy websites, examples, exercises from the Make Your Own website uploaded to your people.emich.edu account. Okay, so that is, in the nutshell, how to take the Codecademy exercises as they exist and upload them to people.emich.edu and have them be real websites for this exercise. What you need to do to finish the Codecademy exercises is upload all that stuff to people.emich.edu, In those directories, like I showed you right there, take that link, which is going to be people.image.edu/your username/444, and you want to put that link onto a page on your WordPress site, which is where you're going to start the write-up about doing the first part of the Codecademy exercises, okay? So you're going to not share the link with me directly, you're going to share the link on your WordPress installation, which I've set up for everyone to see, okay? Now, the way that the due date's on the calendar right now. If you finish it ahead of time, send me the link ahead of time, and that's totally fine. And by the way, if you're familiar at all with HTML and CSS, there's a pretty good chance that you'll be able to finish this in advance, because if they're not hard, if you already know about HTML and CSS, if you don't know about HTML and CSS, it might take a little bit longer. When you have that link, when you have it done, though, let me know and I'll go check it out. There's basically 3 areas, or 3 grades, if you will, that people get on this part of the project. The first grade is thumbs up, you're totally done, you got everything right, and you can move on. The second grade is almost, and I'll point out some kind of error that you made that you need to correct. And the third grade is you're not close and we might need to talk. And that's, by the way, totally okay. If we have to meet in person to go over some of this HTML and CSS stuff, we can do that. It'll be totally fine. If we need to meet via Skype or Google Hangouts and stuff like that, we will do that too. But everybody, it needs to finish these exercises in order to move on to the next part of the class and in order to pass the class. So this is not an optional activity. You need to actually do this. All right. Now, one other thing I'm going to mention real quick about doing these exercises. Well, I'll do 2 other things. The first thing is if you email me a question, I'll answer your question, but I might wait 6 to 10 hours. Besides the fact that I have to sleep and do things like that, one of the reasons I like to wait to answer emails is it is very common for someone to send me an email saying, I'm completely and totally stuck, I can't get this to work, what do I do, what do I do? And then I email them back, and then, but I email them back, but before I see their more current email that they sent to me and said, oh, never mind, I solved my problem. So I'm going to give you a chance to sort of like see if you can figure it out yourself first, and then I'll contact you with email and stuff like that. The second thing about these exercises is you kind of need to have a happy place. You kind of have to go someplace and say, I'm going to be calm, I'm going to read the instructions, I'm going to follow it through, because as Steve says, I know it works. What you don't want to do, and it's really easy to do, is get really frustrated and then do something like this. There's a link about that too. Apparently there's an interesting history about that viral video from probably 20 years ago, something like that. Just take a look. But seriously, it can get really, really frustrating. And I know it can get really frustrating, but it does work. And if you get stuck, I'm here to help. And we're all going to make it through together. Okay, I think that's plenty. Good luck with the Codecademy exercises, and I'll see you online.